So today marks the 1-year anniversary for Marvel's Avengers, and well, a lot has changed in that time, some for the best and some for the worst, but one thing that we do know is that next week we are in for a treat. But really, what should we be expecting with the Spider-Man DLC, and most importantly the roadmap? Now, before we get into that stuff, we've got an awesome sponsor today, so let's roll the ad and then we'll get into it. The mechs are finally here. Today's video is sponsored by Mech Arena Robot Showdown. Now, as I'm sure you all know, there are tons of shooter games out there for your mobile device, but let me tell you right now that Mech Arena just really snatches that spotlight. In short, the game is a 5v5 mech shooter that's casual and fun, but can definitely get super competitive, as there are just so many mechs that are really sleek, so variety is definitely up there for this game. Now, the great thing is, you can also customize your mechs and your loadouts to ultimately just match your favorite playstyle. You could check out the kill shot in the background for speed and melee attacks, but overall there are dozens of mechs and weapons, and all you need to do is just mix and match for different roles and tactics. Now, the good news is Mech Arena has just launched globally, and as a result, they are running a huge celebration event in the game right now, with loads of awesome events and amazing daily welcome rewards during the first week. Now, you definitely don't want to miss out on this because it's completely free to play on Android and iOS right now, and you can go ahead and use my personal link or the QR code right here to go ahead and get the mil-spec skin, 500 A coins, and 70,000 credits to help kickstart your game. And also, if you're quick, you can go ahead and add me to your friends list. My player ID is in the description below, and we can go ahead and play some matches together. So don't wait around, the link is in the description below. Go ahead and download Mech Arena Robot Showdown. So just to bring you up to speed, the official 2.0 roadmap reveal is basically going to be coming next week, and that's going to be the reveal for what's going to be going down over the next, I guess, remaining months for this year, and then also for 2022. So to be specific, that is going to be revealed on the 8th of September, which when this video goes live will make it roughly 4 days away. Now, on top of that, we know that the day after that is a PlayStation event, which of course is no coincidence, so we're definitely anticipating some gameplay there for sure. But this now leads on to that big question on what should we actually expect with all of this stuff going on. Now, first things first, it's probably best not to get our hopes up majorly, as after this DLC, personally, I'm quite fearful of the game's future, and that's simply boiling down to the numbers, etc., right? Because this technically is the only thing that they need to be super committed to, because that's where the whole deal with Sony lays, right? So once that DLC for Spider-Man is out, then technically that deal that is between Sony and Square Enix is a done deal, and at that point, who knows what Square Enix will try to do with the game after that. And sometimes I do genuinely believe that's why possibly we may be where we are now with this game, just simply because the Black Panther DLC was one thing, and then the Spider-Man DLC was just simply something they had to deliver on. But like I said, from a year ago to where we are now, we're in a much better place, right? Some for the best and some for the worst, but overall the game is in a pretty good position. Now, this would be a good time to revisit Ridmania on Twitter, who done a very anticipated roadmap, which by now I'm sure we've all seen like 100 times. Now, the reason I bring this up, and this part specifically, is because it still has that valid raw point of the fact that we're gonna get a new hero alongside a new event and new cosmetics, and finally with the MCU inspired outfits. Now, I'm also sure it will follow a very similar rollout to how Black Panther's DLC did, but will it actually come with a new region, or should we just say a new map in general? Now, honestly, I'm 50-50. I feel like it should, but then another part of me says no. Now, one thing we do know is that the combat for all DLC characters, as well as an overall combat perspective in the game, really couldn't get any better. So that's one thing I think we can all safely tick off that list, that the combat will indeed deliver with this character. But what other things will there be? Are we talking a new villain? What about the character's swinging abilities? will that ultimately also follow a similar playstyle like with Black Widow? Now, another thing I do want to go ahead and mention is that another thing, in fact, that we can all probably agree on is that the longevity of the DLC will probably not be there, and that's nobody's fault. That's just more of a situation with the DLC firstly being free. I'm assuming that's where there are limits simply because it's a free DLC, and how much can really go in there, I guess slightly would be dependent on that, at least that's my opinion anyway. But again, that then comes down to the fact that the game is really relying on two things right now. A, the player base spike has only been with the PlayStation Now rollout, alongside with the free-to-play weekend as well. And B, the other thing they're really, I guess, like relying on is the events that are held in the game for things like the double XP, etc, etc. Now, it's definitely best to say that this game is probably safe to head down the free-to-play road, as logically it would just make way more sense because, again, Black Panther was the most anticipated DLC, and although that was done flawlessly, we've still practically found ourselves in the same situation as we did before that DLC was actually released. Now, another thing that I've been saying for a while now, probably the last couple of months, is that naturally the bar has been set really high for Spider-Man's character in general with what Insomniac Games done. So we know we're not going to get anywhere near that level of detail in terms of just how the character moves in the game, etc. So we know we can really kind of like cross that off the list. But to really conclude on what we should expect with the Spider-Man DLC is the following. First of all, the no-brainer, it's going to be a new hero with hero-specific events. We're definitely going to get a bunch of MCU skins alongside emotes from movies as well, possibly. Again, that will probably more than likely not be free and something you do need to go ahead and pay for. Gameplay style will be very similar to Black Widow's in my opinion, unless they do go ahead and actually implement a new map. And who knows, maybe it could be web swinging specific in terms of, I guess, game modes that they may well go ahead and introduce. But again, my guess is just as good as yours. That's just purely speculating on that. Lastly is a teaser to the ongoing story, right? Because we know with the Black Panther DLC and just in general the future of this game is really about nailing down that story. Because really, once you can really get that down and you've got the characters there as well, and I guess there's a lot of momentum going, it then just becomes a scenario on maintaining that stuff, right? Now, another thing that I do want to mention is we're probably going to be in that weird position where even after Spider-Man's DLCs, there's still a bunch of characters that have been added to the game now. So, as far as your roster goes for Marvel's Avengers, let's just say you are somebody who's picking up the game brand new, you've never played it before, it's safe to say you will probably actually get longevity from the game because you've got the story mode, then you've got all the individual character DLC story modes, especially with Black Panther. So, technically speaking, if you were to purchase the game today and play all of this stuff, or maybe in a couple months time, you will actually have a whole bunch of stuff to really get through, and ultimately it will be really worth the value of what the game is being sold at right now as well. Now, trust me, overall, I would love for there to be more, and as much as I support the devs, I think it's just best to be realistic on what can and can't be done, so that we don't entirely get our hopes up only to be let down based on expectation. Now, the same applies with the roadmap as well. I probably imagine we won't get dates and it'll probably be more of a, you know, this will be happening in summer, etc, etc. So basically season release windows as opposed to actual dates is what we will probably go ahead and get. But guys, leave your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. What are you expecting for the Spider-Man DLC and what are you expecting from this roadmap? I'll see you in the next video. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day and adios amigos.